Poltava region is the heartland of modern Ukraine. These fertile lands on the left bank of the Dnipro River have witnessed the rise and fall of several civilizations, from the primitive sites of the Paleolithic era to Kievan Rus and the Cossacks. For the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, the forerunner of modern Poland, this place was the edge of the wild fields. For Ukrainians, the lands of Poltava are the cradle of material culture. They're also the place where you can find the legendary village of Opishnya, which is also called Ukrainian Rome. By the end of the 19th century, this ancient Cossack village became the pottery capital of Ukraine. 1 in 3 families in Opishnya made ceramic products, which then ended up traveling to all the continents inhabited by man. The National Museum of Pottery has been operating here for over 30 years. Opishnya ceramics included a variety of tableware, figures and even whole statues, decorative and applied art, interesting primarily to collectors and ethnographers. But what about modern interior design? Not far from these lands lies the birthplace of a master who is trying to bring traditional Ukrainian pottery into a new urban context. This is the heart of the workshop, a place where all our items are born. Ceramics, tiles, flower pots, cups, everything my workshop creates begins its life here. And then it goes to original modern interiors. Architect Serhiy Makhno made his name in Ukraine and beyond its borders due to his unorthodox solutions. But the desire to be noticed for him is first and foremost an instrument for achieving his main objective. His entire career is an artistic search for his own style. I've been working on architecture, interior and product design for 16 years. These are unorthodox, unusual, strange items, perhaps not for everyone, perhaps peculiar. We have already formed our own style, and we hope that it'll get called Ukrainian style in the future. What did the master begin with, and what influences help him to shape his style? What is wabi-sabi, and why does the Ukrainian architect find Japanese philosophy so relatable? Finally, precisely how does Serhiy Makhno weave tradition into contemporary design? UATV visited the master, whose own apartment won a prestigious international award. Serhiy Makhno's family comes from the village of Ocheretuvate, just a 2-hour drive away from Opishnya. However, as a child, he paid no attention to local pottery, only for it to catch up to him in Kiev. At some point, I started collecting some crockery in the form of pots. I learned about Opishnya only as an adult and an established architect. I think it's just in the blood. Now I already know quite a lot about Ukrainian pottery, and I have a good collection of Ukrainian zoomorphic ceramics. Serhiy graduated from the Kyiv National University of Construction and Architecture in the early 2000s. He was more interested in interior design, and at first faced a complete lack of understanding on the part of potential customers. When I came and said that I want to do interior design, interior what? Are you like arranging furniture? Like why? We can do it ourselves just fine. What are you talking about? It didn't exist back then, and the only concept of enclosed was art designer, and there was no such thing at all in Ukraine as an interior designer. But who an architect is was understood by absolutely everyone. It was another thing that customers were mainly interested in the pseudo-classical style, which Serhiy describes as somewhat harsher times. At that time, they mostly built castles and birdhouses. I never found such architecture attractive, nor could I find any pleasure in it. This is pseudo-miserliness, I would say. It's both pseudo and made with a complete lack of taste, with 250-ton columns, with arches and domes on rooftops. So people wanted these things, but I didn't. As a result, the first orders in Serhiy's career still came from interior design. He had to look for customers with similar tastes and values, those ready to do something extraordinary in their homes. Back then, Ukrainian ethnic motifs in modern design were such an exotic thing. In 2003, I won my first competition and received an audience favorite prize. I designed a chair, and back then I decided that it must have Ukrainian roots. That is directly because I am a Ukrainian designer, an architect, and at the time I created things into which I weaved Ukrainian embroidery. I have items with Ukrainian patterns. At the same time, Serhiy understood that ethno-style in its pure form is suitable only for reconstructing the traditional life of Ukrainians in ethnographic museums. Besides, he was more inclined towards minimalism, for which rich decor is extraneous. Serhiy Makhno's favorite architect is Japanese Tadao Ando, with his large concrete shapes and desire to recreate natural landscapes. At the same time, in interior design, the Ukrainian admires the work of Spaniard Nacho Carbonell. He was praised throughout the world due to his biomorphic furniture, which looks like it grew naturally. The result is an eclectic mix that distinguishes Serhiy Makhno's style. This is Ukrainian ethno, originality, or some things that came to us from history. Well, I'm very fascinated by Japanese design, and I like Japan, the clean lines, zen, wabi-sabi. These are things which give me strength. Serhiy Makhno gave a tour of his apartment, especially for UATV. The flat became an embodiment of all his artistic principles in interior design, and he revealed to us how it's made. Japanese wabi-sabi, which Serhiy mentioned, is not just a school of aesthetics, but an entire philosophy. Wabi is modesty and loneliness, sabi is archaism and genuineness, and this all contains certain inner strength. That is, these are things that come to us incomplete, and we should appreciate and love them in the form they are. A scar on the skin, this is what wabi-sabi is. For us, it is a little incomprehensible, intricate, and difficult. I asked a Japanese woman, "What is wabi-sabi for you?" She answered, "It's simple, sufficient. So understand this as you will." So I went looking for this simple enough and found it in altogether different manifestations. But the architect is not a free artist. His work is a habitat for other people who may have different views on specific things, even if they agree with the master on generalities. So Serhiy spent a long time looking for a place where he could truly spread his wings. Well, for example, I'll tell you today that you need to go to Western Ukraine. Take apart 2 huts there that nobody needs, so they just put them on sale. We will clean this wood and use it for decoration. That is, make wooden ceilings, wooden walls or floors from it. So there, what would your reply be to me to this brilliant idea of mine? This is why I created all these things at home. So into this space, I brought things that I simply couldn't do with ordinary clients. Serhiy spent 7 months on the complete overhaul of his own apartment, from creating the design to the final touches. One of the important components of wabi-sabi is what they call recycling today. That is, reusing old items in a new way or in a different context. But while now many promote this idea for reasons of environmental preservation, the Japanese concept is based more on the principle of not creating excess. So Serhiy wasn't joking when he spoke of reusing rural buildings. We have old beams on the ceiling, which are made of old timber from a dismantled building, a barn from one village. We disassembled it and completely integrated it onto the ceiling. We have oak on the floor, it's quite tinted. And here in the kitchen, we use this same solution. This used to be a kitchen, and we designed it in such a way so that there is a dining table and here a fully working metal kitchen, in which everything can be stored. If you pay attention, you'll notice that the handles are made of simple painted rebar. Well, in my Lacune lamps, 3 of them are ceramic, 1 is copper. I mean, this is a symbiosis of items that flow from ceramics to metal. The coffee table in the room is made of a monolithic piece of granite. It stands on metal cubes. Serhiy wanted the furniture to be natural too, so he ordered a sofa with linen fabric upholstery. On the one hand, it's not very practical and does not clean well, but on the other, Serhiy believes this is the real wabi-sabi. A stain on the furniture is like a scar on the skin. But the main feature of this room is not immediately apparent. Now we're using this material as a finishing material in 80 of our projects, not as a structural material, but as a finishing material. I covered 80% of the apartment in clay. We use straw, dung, horsehair, and old-fashioned coating technology, like the one our ancestors used. And so we cover the walls, give them a certain form of a traditional Ukrainian village house. According to Serhiy, such a clay coating serves not only for thermal insulation, but even judging by the poor mobile signal, dampens some of the electromagnetic radiation. But his wife, Vlada, didn't appreciate all these advantages at first. My wife cried for a week after I did all this. Literally. I mean, she came to me and said, "I don't want to live in a cellar." And this was when it was still unfinished. But when we completed the work, it was a completely different image. That is, I saw the final result, but she couldn't see it. But Serhiy's own vision sometimes failed to stand up to the test of implementation. Following the project, workers had to make a concrete staircase to the second floor. And I came on one of these days when they were preparing to pour concrete. They'd already installed the metal part and welded the structure. They were planning to start filling the formwork. I arrived and said, "Oh great, the staircase is done." They said, "How is it finished?" I said, "Well, I like it this way. So that's all, this is the finish." And after that, they spent a week washing it in salt water, and it rusted, and it remained with this as a finish. Railings here are an integrated piece of the branch. These are the solutions that are absolutely simple. There's a living wall in the staircase. Serhiy wants the greenery to grow outwards and entangle the lamps. The second floor ceiling is bare concrete, just how it was after it was built, and the wiring is laid along it without any sort of disguise. In this spot here, if you take a closer look, you can see that we added grain to the clay on the second floor. Here, and in particular, we added barley and wheat. This is a kind of technique. After that, I began experimenting with various things, like tea. I have solutions with flax added to the walls. But real antiquity can be found in the bathroom. A drinking trough for horses, supposedly from the 18th century. I found this trough and decided that this thing will become a sink. My mom came and said, "Son, just how? This can't be a sink. This is a trough, and it's covered in moss. And now this isn't some sort of prop. It's a proper sink. I used to wash it in the morning. Even if someone splashes the cash, it dries out. There's no dirt, no dust, no nothing." After completing the apartment and moving into it with his whole family, Serhiy submitted it to the 2018 Architecture Master Prize International Competition and won first prize in the Interior Design nomination. At about the same time, the ceramic inventions of the Ukrainian master won the Red Dot Design Awards 2 times running, which for more than half a century has been awarded to the best product designers in the world. I've been dreaming about it for almost 10 years. Tetrapod and Flapjack. We got 2 red dots for these in 2017 and 2018. 3-dimensional tiles, which I came up with to, let's say, increase the volume of the main walls in a space. That is, a flat wall onto which we used to glue, for example, tiles or plaster, but now with a volume. Tetrapod has a volume of 8 centimeters, which protrudes from the wall and can be assembled into an interlocking puzzle, creating an entire art panel. Each element of such a pane is made manually in Serhiy's workshop in Kiev, from clay extracted not far from Slavyansk in Donetsk region. Today, the famous volumetric tiles are used in various locations all over the globe. But Serhiy Makhno is far from building his work on replicating a few successful finds. We're creating history. We're creating things that will be valued and are valued even now. Things made with warmth, by hand, not by a machine running into billions of copies. Things with a run of just 100 units. And that's it. No more of them will be made. Or in a run of 3 pieces, or even 1. This is what interests me. I'm interested in museum design, because I use the techniques and knowledge of my ancestors, because this interests me, and I live with it. This is why this is Ukrainian design. We don't take it upon ourselves to claim that this is Ukrainian style, or that we're creating something unique here. Someone will say it later, or perhaps won't say it at all. Our story is that the more we talk about Ukraine and show our design to the world, the more we talk about it, the more we appreciate it, sought after and known.
Чем больше нас, не знаю, там ценят, ищут или знают.